Hello, it's Anthony, my privacy PC.
Hey, Anthony, thanks so much for coming, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what your machine can do.
All right, let's set it up.
All right. So I haven't even turned it on yet, but
Right.
I got everything you asked me to get prepared.
All right.
What equipment's needed to make this thing work?
Well, it's a standard PC. It'll work with any PC equipment. And the idea is we keep the inside as simple and reliable as possible, so it's more modular, and so the user has more control over the options, and anything that's not reliable, like power supplies and fans, tend to go out, so they're on the outside, and that all gives the user more control. So and then this is knocked down to about an inch thick. It's more it's not light, but it's definitely versatile at this size. And in the future, we're going to have a modular laptop and various other what I call thermal accessories on the outside. And you drop the PC into one of the thermal accessories, and it becomes something bigger. And so, but it's the same PC. So you have unified product concepts. Decades of thinking behind those concepts are all built into this, so that this can be transported into various different environments. It's super reliable, lasts decades. No video card. You don't need video cards Raptor Lake and forward because the iGPU is now better than most video cards.
Show me where you're plugging these things in.
Yeah.
You got your Wi-Fi, Ethernet cable.
USB 2, USB 3, this is Gen 2. So these are the super high speed ones. And then you got your sound, and you got DisplayPort and HDMI.
You just plug in your monitor with the HDMI.
And these are the new specs. You can go up to 8K if you want to. 1080p is the default setting for the hybrid operating system, just to keep everything simple, just to go 1080p. Okay, right now, this is the outer shell of the hybrid operating system, and I'm currently using Linux Mint XFCE. It's a lightweight, very stable reworking of Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is really important because they have enough programmers that they stay current with the modern CPUs. However, it's a corporation. It's going to get pushy on you after a while, trying to get you to pay them. So Mint reworks it and takes out all the pushiness and makes it more stable, unbreaks some of the tools which would have motivated you to pay for the premium. And so Mint is wonderful. Here, I'm just logging in. All right, so when you log in, this is what you see. And the hybrid operating system is composed of a set of menus, and then these icons here. And from here, you control your PC. This operating system, we call it the host, manages the physical PC, what you actually see, and any firmware and any devices physically attached to it. However, we don't change this operating system, and we don't use this operating system. We use it to go into what's called a virtual machine, and from the virtual machine is where you do your work. So if you're going to run a program, then you go to the top menu and pick a operating system to run your program from. So if you're used to Windows 7, you can use that. If you're used to Windows 10, you can use that, or Windows 11. And we even have all the requirements for Windows 11, including TPM2 is in there for privacy purposes. And or if you want to run a Linux program, then we have Cinnamon, that top one. And that's for running a program that's blind to all networking. And why would we want to run a program that's blind to all networking? Well, not all your programs have to be online. So why expose them to that? So we segregate. So any program that doesn't have to be online, you run from this menu. And it's completely isolated. There's no way anything online can get to it, and there's no way any malware within it can talk out, because it's all contained with no networking. So, for example, let's go to Windows 7. Oh, let's go to Windows 10. I forgot one step on your Windows 10. So we'll go to Windows 10, on your Windows 7. So I'll fix that afterwards. We're going into Windows 10. It's just one click to launch the operating system. And this will be the familiar environment for most people. Now you're in Windows 10. And so here you can work in peace. You don't get pop-ups, you don't get auto updates, you don't get security threats, and almost certainly you won't get OS corruption, though you might, because a bug in a program can still cause OS corruption. Now, what's different is besides being isolated, you also have a soft reset button here. So let's say the operating system does get corrupted. You have a one-click solution. You can click on this icon here. The soft reset will attempt to fix the corruption in OS. So this is that 1% of problems that could still happen despite the isolation. The isolation will prevent 99% of the problems, but you still might get corruption from a bug in a program. So that will attempt to fix it without changing or moving any user data. And if it doesn't work, there's a hard reset from outside the operating system that gives you a whole new copy.
The third icon?
The third icon, yeah.
You just click that and it'll do a reset of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the soft reset. It attempts to fix the operating. It's a repair process.
Okay, what happens to my my data and my settings?
Okay, so from the very start, you save your data to an external drive. And by saving your data to an external drive, if your OS corrupts, you don't have a big issue. You just reset your OS and your data is still there on the external drive.
So you just plug in an external drive into the back there,
yep.
One of the USBs, USB 3.
Right, and you map your programs to save the data there. So that way, it's a non-issue. You want everything to be a one-click solution, and that's what we have here. You have to do a couple things a little bit differently.
And I can access the internet with
nope. This is a isolated Windows 10.
Okay.
So there's a separate menu selection to go to the internet. But I'm going to leave this one running.
Okay.
And notice there's two taskbars down here.
Yeah.
The first taskbar is the Windows 10 taskbar. The one below it is the hybrid operating system taskbar. So we're going to go back to here. And we're going to go ahead to the internet menu and run an.
Can you go back and go show me how you did that? Okay,
so one click here, we're back to Windows 10.
Okay.
One click on HOS main menu, and we have the hybrid operating system main menu.
That pulls up the operating system's main menu governing all of them.
Correct. All right, and then I went into the internet menu, which gives you a bunch of options for
connecting. Get to the internet menu?
Okay, I'll go back to the main menu. Okay. So the first one is programs menu. The second one is internet menu.
Okay.
And those are just lists of operating systems that you have available at one click. So internet menu, and now when you pick one of these operating systems, you do it based on your own privacy strategy. Okay, the ultimate, of course, is what we call extremely private. It's the same thing that Edward Snowden uses, and it's very effective. But it's slow, and it's not compatible with everything. So to get speed and compatibility, you want mildly private.
Would I be able to, like connect to my bank or something with the extremely private? Is that...
Okay, that's an excellent question. I have tried Wells Fargo, and it works just fine through extremely private. I've tried Bank of America, and it does not work. Bank of America has some kind of counter measure against the Onion network, which is in use with extremely private connection.
So is there like a middle ground?
Yeah, and so there's various other strategies. Isolated Google, you can pick your monster. Google is one of the monsters. Go ahead and pick them, side with them, and just give them what you want them to know about. And they're not going to see anything else in your PC because everything's isolated. So isolated Google is one approach. Isolated case is even stronger because you're isolating time-wise as well as what you put into the operating system.
So just what you're doing in that one session?
Correct.
Isolated case?
Yeah, every time you go in there, you get a fresh copy of the operating system. So isolated case is the strongest you can go where you still have full compatibility and performance
with the internet, basically.
Yeah, and then extremely private, you're blending in with about 75,000 other users that have an identical footprint to your footprint.
But some of the internet doesn't work with that. So
Correct. Yeah. With extremely private, it's not going to work with everything. It does not work with Bank of America, for example. Yeah, but you can use isolated case and get into Bank of America.
What's that last one? Reacquire?
Oh, reacquire Quad 9. Okay, so Quad 9 is one of the things you get that's built into mildly private. And anytime you have a new internet connection, you have to reacquire it from the top level. So you reacquire Quad 9, and then it adds that into your internet connection details.
Okay. So let's say, I just want to figure out, who won the Lakers game. So how would I get online and I don't really care too much about privacy?
Mildly private.
Okay. And, say I wanted to talk to my friend about some sensitive content. Would I be able to jump online and send a DM or a message or email without nobody knowing about it?
Well, mildly private, I would say that's a good enough shield to block the vast majority of malware that's tracking your activity and sending you garbage. So mildly private will prevent that, but it's not going to prevent tracking. Yeah. If you want to prevent tracking, you need extremely private.
So would I be able to do extremely private and possibly hop on Signal or some encrypted DM system inside of that?
And here's the thing that any of these online security services will not tell you is they're at the mercy of your endpoint security. And your endpoint is not just the TPM. And this has TPM2, which is the latest. But it's also the integrity of your whole system. It could be compromised. All right. So it would be nice to have that all automatic. And so here your privacy is automatic and you have TPM2. And so this is a better endpoint for accessing a security service such as Signal.
Let's say, I have a business and I like to keep my accounting maybe offline and keep track of that stuff. Would I want to keep it in like a separate operating system?
That's what
I cruise around on the internet doing?
Windows 10 completely contain. Impossible for any LAN or internet, any network of any sort to interact with it. So this is where you put your engineering notes, your passwords, any materials you're working on. You don't want anyone to take an advanced peek of those materials. Right here. No internet, no LAN, no Wi-Fi, nothing.
Cool.
And of course, you had several options. That was back here with the programs menu. And I'll be adding more to those. I'm going to add macOS.
What levels or like layers of passwords or whatever to get in here? Like, is it just that one?
Just the one.
Master password to get into the whole system?
Yep. Because you have to be physically here to type that in.
Nice.
Yep. So let's go into mildly private. And by the way, this is normal mode. There's also a beginner mode, which takes an expert to configure it, usually 5 minutes of configuring. And you can configure it to work just like somebody's used to. So they don't actually have to learn anything. And you'll get about half the benefits.
Just like how their Windows is set up currently.
Yeah.
Can you like import the settings? Is that
right? So it would go right into Windows. In that case, Windows would have internet, and their drives would be mapped the way that they're used to now with the same names on them. And yet underneath it works the new way.
Cool.
With the virtualization and segregation and all that.
Cool.
Okay, so this is mildly private, and it's set up with Firefox. And isolated Google is set up with Chrome. And it's pre-configured for privacy.
Do you have any preference from Firefox over Brave?
I haven't spent enough time with Brave. I'm going to probably add Brave because
just using Chrome. engine, but it has a bunch of good privacy stuff on top of it.
Okay, yeah, there's a good chance we'll be adding Brave.
Cool.
And
But Firefox, I know, is kind of the like
mhm,
go-to because of how
yeah,
much you can customize it.
yeah, and it's they've always been a little rebellious. I like rebellious,
Cool.
but
So we got internet. Just going. What do you?
trees. There's some pictures of trees.
Nice.
There you go. And you see that even with lots of operating systems, um, no fan, this is a super fast computer.
Nice.
It's very capable. If you're a power user, you can have 4 operating systems running at the same time, and in one click, and you're in another operating system doing something. One click again, and you're back.
Yeah, that's rad.
And so you can have a multi-operating system, multitasking power user experience with this PC. Now, these are all capabilities that have been around for a while, but they were too complicated for the normal user to use. And the whole point of this system is to make it super easy to use. But like I said, that's normal mode, and it might still overwhelm some people. So we have a beginner mode to completely eliminate anything that's new and different to them.
So from here, you got in, you got your access to the internet. Now it's just about customizing it to the way you like it, choosing your browser, and then your search engine that's connected to that browser, right?
Yep.
And then just bringing in all your preferences. I have 30 extensions on mine that I like to rock around with. So.
And the heart of the concept here is mainstream wants you to put everything in one pot, and they don't want you to understand that pot. So you got your programs, your internet, all your services, and your operating system, one operating system. Something goes wrong, you need somebody else's help. It's a can of worms, right? So here, segregation separates it all out and gives you control. Let's say something goes wrong with your operating system. There's a reset menu. Okay, and this is the hard reset. And
show me how you got there again.
Okay, reset menu's right there.
Main menu, reset menu.
Mm-hmm. And then reset a VM system. And VM hard reset. And that's a list of all the operating systems. One click gives you a pristine new copy, just like it was when you bought the PC. And because your data is on an external drive, you have everything. You lose nothing. And in one click, you've solved a problem that used to cost hundreds of dollars of IT time.
Nice.
So, and then there's, this shows the temperature. This temperature control system bridges the gap between desktop and mobile. So this PC is both desktop and mobile because it's monitoring the temperature and automatically cuts back the CPU performance so that it doesn't get too hot. That way it can automatically adjust for different environments. And if you have a thermal accessory, another thing that makes this different, and this is what the patent is on, is how the heat is handled. The PC itself is only spreading the heat. So the concentrated heat under the CPU is spread evenly around the entire surface of the PC, where it can very easily be transferred to a thermal accessory, which is just another piece of metal with a secondary purpose. And so one more sophisticated secondary purpose is a modular laptop. Wouldn't it be nice if you can go on a trip and bring a full-size desktop, keyboard, mouse, and monitor with you, but have it all fold up like a laptop? Wouldn't that be cool? Okay, that's what I've got, and it'll be ready to show in a few weeks. And this just drops in, and it all works together, and the modular laptop finishes the process of spreading the heat out and eliminating the heat. And the fan is completely optional. If you're wanting more performance right now, just point a room fan to it, and this will adjust and give you more performance automatically. You don't have to do a thing. And or you can get a thermal accessory if you don't like the fan. The user gets control. And so the power supply is on the outside. If it goes bad, one click online, you get a new one in and plug it in. You don't need to hire an IT guy. If you're going down into your bomb shelter for the next 20 years, you don't need to bring an IT guy with you. Just bring a couple extra power supplies. All right. So,
any other features you want to highlight?
Well, almost everything is automatic. There's documentation, and that's constantly growing. There's a lot there now, but we probably need more because it works differently. That requires a lot of explanation. File management. Okay, so file management's an important one.
You wait for this sound to be over. Can you start over with showing where the file management is?
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so file management is important. A lot of people get into trouble with PCs because they don't know how to organize their data. So our documentation is actually going to help you with that. We know what all the pitfalls are and have a nice short list of rules to follow so you don't fall into one of those pitfalls. Plus, segregation is absolutely essential to be able to handle the future. So you're going to have your data segregated. The simplest way to understand segregation on data is you're going to have a vault where you store things you don't want anyone to get to, and you're going to have a shareable where you store things that you're willing to share online. Okay, and then within those you can have subdivisions, but those subdivisions are optional. And so file management, this is from the host operating system, gives you top level control. As we put in USB sticks, they will show up here, and you can just click on one and access what's on that USB stick. And each virtual machine can be configured to automatically grab a very specific USB stick. So when you log into, say, Windows 10, it will see one of those USB sticks, but not the other ones. And when you log into mildly private, you'll see another USB stick, but not the other ones.
So you would get a USB hub and
Yes.
be able to just mark those as private, not private.
Yeah, and we recommend everyone with our PC to have a 10-port hub. There's also a 7-port if you don't want to spend the money on the 10-port. But this is a very well-tested hub of the Gen 2 specification. Works very well and is affordable. But then what you do is you put your USB sticks in a certain places on the hub, and you can color code those so you don't forget. And by keeping them in the same place, you don't have to remap them on the operating system. It will remember that this stick goes here and this stick goes here and so on. So now when you create beginner mode, you need an expert that spends 5 minutes mapping that. And so once that mapping's done, and then you have beginner mode. They don't have to understand any of it to be able to benefit from it. But normal mode, you need to do your own mapping, but you map it once and it remembers. And that you want your vault to be accessible to the isolated operating systems, but not necessarily your every single subfolder. Like, for example, Windows, even isolated, can be malicious. And they like to move the words around, but Windows will actually search all your files, even when it's not online, and delete things they don't like. I've watched it do it a few times. So you'll want a Windows vault, and then you want a Linux vault, and you don't really mix those vaults because Microsoft can go after those.
So when you buy it and you're just looking for beginner mode, you just have an expert set that up for you in 5 minutes, and then you have your PC just like the way you like it, with all your information from how it was before accessible, and then you know how to switch between privacy and.
Yep, and they would use it just like they were before. It could look and feel identical to what they're doing before. Well, beneath the scenes, they have all this added protection and the ability to reset and get a pristine copy of their operating system with one click if they have to.
Cool.